Good evening, chaps. I have a great show for you this evening. So, I wanted to talk about how I was able to become based in red pilled over time and what that process looked like for me. So, hopefully, we can recreate it on more people like me, more young working class. Well, my family actually isn't working class, but for working class people, for white collar Americans, for blue collar Americans, for white people, or other races of people, for everyone, um, whether they're rich or poor or middle class. Um, so so I used to be, politically speaking, really, really awful. Um, I was I was basically as bad as you could get, politically speaking. I had deep anti-white racism within me. I fell for almost all of the social Marxist globalist tricks. I was pro homosexual rights at that time. I was pro transvestite rights. I I supported open borders. I supported every degeneracy under the sun. Um, I was basically as awful as you could get. I was anti-Christian. Um, but even though I was so, and my identity, I didn't really understand. So this was what the time I'm talking about was when I was 12 years old, around middle school is this when I was at my worst, politically speaking, and religiously speaking. Um, I so I didn't really at that time I didn't really understand political science. So it was weird because I was sort of pro communism at that time, but I also thought Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama were the bee's knees. I thought they were some of the greatest people to ever live, which so I liked communism, but then I supported two right wing capitalists. I don't know. It was dumb, but just shows you how much I've done. And there were so I also deeply hated America at that time, which looking back, I was basically right to hate America, but not for awful reasons. I do to a certain degree hate the so I certainly hate the US federal government. I love the American people, or at least a lot of them, and I love the American soil. Um, but the U.S. government is really awful. Um, but I didn't hate the U.S. government for good reasons. I hated it for stupid reasons. Just this sort of leftist slash liberal position of the U.S. is bad, the West is bad, without really thinking about it deeply or going into it very much. So that was really rough. But around this time when I was in middle school, what really started my transformation into becoming based and red pilled was I watched this video. I can't, so it was from this YouTube channel. So I'm not sure what he's called, but he has his like picture is a like old timey 1950s esque black and white photo of a man wearing a black fedora hat and a black suit and tie, but he has his hand out like this and he's pointing out his swear finger towards us, like a POV image um, of us being flipped off by some like 1950s gentleman. It's kind of a funny profile picture, though a little bit vulgar for my tastes. Um, but I clicked on one of his videos and it was titled like "Feminists Get Triggered Over Father's Day" or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but it was something like that. Um, and in that video, he said he was talking about how bad feminists were, and he was showing like pictures and videos of feminist women dressed up in like costumes of female genitalia. It was really gross. But and then he said, because feminists hate men, and he said it like a fact. Now, I at that time I wanted equal rights for men and women. Um, I believe that men and women were completely equal on the inside, that they were the same on the inside. That which looking back doesn't make sense with my position of being so fiercely pro transvestitism because, excuse me, sorry, I have some problems with my throat, but because if men and women are the same on the inside, then why would transvestitism exist? Because so yeah, it doesn't make sense. Because if a man's brain and a woman's brain were the same, you couldn't be a man trapped in a woman's body or a woman trapped in a man's body because they're the same inside. So that was looking back, it was my whole I was really dumb at that time. I didn't think things out. I had all these failures and cognitive dissonance inside of me, and all of these problems. I was politically speaking and religiously speaking really awful at that time. Um, but that video is very important because it started me on the path to becoming based and red pilled. So I didn't know what a feminist was. I didn't know what feminism was, but I just thought, well, they hate men, and I'm a man, so or male, a boy at that time, but so I guess I just shouldn't like feminists. Feminists are the enemy. Um, and then I just started watching these videos, and a lot of them, they would be like, it was the Leafy is Here style video where they would have gameplay and they'd be talking over the gameplay, but it would be titled like, Crazy Feminist Teacher Bullies Boys for Being Boys and Gives Preferential Treatment to Girls. And I would just watch these videos. I watched some amazing atheist videos, which looking back, cringe, but it was what it was. Um, and I was watching all of these videos, and that made me become how I identified as an anti-feminist. Now I would sometimes make distinguishments like, oh, I'm not against all feminists. I'm against anti-feminists and feminist extremists because I support equality, but I'm against these ones because they are misandrists. Um, but I was against feminism more broadly, though I supported equality between the sexes at that time. But then I started watching. Do you know those videos? They were really big at the time, but it was they would be titled "Top Feminist and SJW Cringe Completion," "Feminist and SJW Triggered Completion," and they would have like the thumbnail would be some like morbidly obese woman with like bright neon blue hair. So that was the next step in being based and red pilled. I started watching those videos. But even though I was watching those videos, I was still extremely cucked in many ways. For example, there was this one in one of those videos, they played, I'd seen some clips of Ben Shapiro, and in one of those clips, they were playing a clip of Ben Shapiro, and one of the things Ben Shapiro said was, yes, transgenderism is a mental illness. And I kind of freaked out at that time, like, because I was like, what? No, it is. No, it isn't. Transvestites are perfectly normal people. They're perfectly healthy. So that, I guess, triggered me at that time. Just shows you how far I've come. And and how much I've matured over the years. But so after that, but there was one clip that was very important for me. So actually, let me see if I can just find it on YouTube right now. Just a second. Um, right now, I'm watching a reaction to this clip, but it's Milo Yiannopoulos effortlessly takes apart Black feminist NAACP president at WCU. So I don't. So it's you can find it on the internet real easily. Just Milo Yiannopoulos effortlessly takes apart Black feminist NAACP president at WCU. It's a reaction video because Milo Yiannopoulos' channel got deleted, so I think the original video is probably gone, but you can watch the reaction. There appears to be some lovely young Black man doing I'm sure, a wonderful reaction to the video, though I haven't watched it. But this video was really impactful because at that time I wasn't really sure. Like I was still, because I'm from a Democratic family, so I still wasn't really sure of how I identified. But after watching that video, I was like, yes, I'm going to become a Republican now. I'm going to become a conservative now. And he really sold me on that. So I got really into watching Milo Yiannopoulos videos. I would watch them, all these videos. I would find as many as I can. I would watch all these completions of Milo Yiannopoulos. And so my own political identity was just taking his political identity and copy and pasting it. All of his political opinions and his political views and his political takes, I just take them and copy and paste them onto myself. So he was a Trump supporter, so I became a Trump supporter. He was a Zionist, so I became a Zionist. Looking back, cringe, but he was against transvestitism, so I was against transvestitism. He was against Black Lives Matter, so I was against Black Lives Matter. He was against feminism, so I was against feminism. Um, he said that America is the best country in the world, so I said America was the best country in the world. It was just copy and pasting him onto me. And I really adored him at that time. I really looked up to him. So at the time I got really into him, this was like so this was during Mr. Trump's presidency at this point. And this was already after that scandal came out, where he said that he thinks that older homosexual men and younger boys being together is all right, is fine. But I was just so into him that I just passed that off as just a misunderstanding. No, he doesn't support child rape. This was just a misunderstanding. That was my take at that time. So I was just head over heels in love with the guy. And looking back, a lot of the things he was saying that I then started supporting were really cucked. For example, he said Islam is the worst religion in the whole world, and Islam is especially evil, and we need to fight Islam. Islam is the world's number one enemy. Islam is the West's number one enemy. Now that I've become truly based and red pilled, I know that that's not true. Um, Judaism is much worse than Islam. In Judaism, they believe that our Lord is being boiled in excrement in hell. They believe that Gentiles aren't human. Uh, this is what the Talmud says. Don't blame me. I'm just reading their book. So in a lot of ways, Milo Yiannopoulos was wrong in a lot of things. Milo Yiannopoulos was a Zionist, and that's wrong. So in a lot of ways, he was really awful. But and right now, I think he's become like a national socialist or something. And obviously, I'm against national socialism. I'm a conservative, and I'm a Christian, and part of national socialism is genocide. And of course, since I'm a Christian, I'm obviously against genocide. So he was wrong then, and it seems like he's wrong now. But what's important is he started the awakening in me. With all of these people, Milo Yiannopoulos, Donald Trump, even someone really awful like Ben Shapiro, they, even though they're bad, they were bad at that time. They started the awakening in me. And where did this end up? So 3 years ago, when I was 16, I took the final step and became truly based and red pilled. I made up my mind on the true political philosophy I wanted. And I wasn't going to be a neocon libertarian like I was during my Milo Yiannopoulos phase, but I wasn't going to be some kind of leftist, kind of liberal like I was before that phase. I was going to become a real conservative, not a neocon, a real conservative. Someone who would step up for the white race, someone who would step up for traditional family values, someone who would step up for our country, for our homeland, someone who would fight against the great evils of our world, like Zog. That's who I became when I was 16. It's been 3 years since then, and I still am fighting for that, and I'm still willing to dedicate my entire life to that cause. I'm willing to die for that cause. And I hope you will too. But I've thought about this deeply, and what can we take away from my amazing transformation of going from a mega cuck to being truly based and red pilled? So a big part of it is not going too hard. Let me put it in this scenario. So you have a friend, maybe he's your roommate, your cousin, your or if you're in school, the child you got assigned to be math partners with or buddies with as classmates, whatever. And they're a neocon, they're a libertarian, they're a leftist, they're a Democrat, whatever they are, they're not good. They're a Daily Wire stan, whatever. How can we help them? How can we make them better? So first off, what to not do? Don't go up to them and say, the USS Liberty was sunk by Israel purposely, and it was a great war crime. Or don't go up to them and say, well, if you tried to kill 6 million people in only 5 years, that would be 15 minutes per body, and it takes 1 hour to cremate a corpse, especially with 1940s technology. Don't do that. That's not good. If you do that, then what will happen is they'll probably freak out, and they will get disgusted by this, and they'll run away. This is why I get angry when I see National Socialists in America or in any other place in the West, because they make us look really bad, us reasonable right-wing people. So not only is National Socialism is it's immoral because it's an inherently genocidal and inherently exterminationist ideology, and those things are both violate genocide and extermination of human beings, both violate biblical law. So it's National Socialism and fascism and the alt-right, white nationalism, ethno-nationalism, all of these things are deeply immoral. But in addition to that, they're also strategically awful for making America great again. So they, when normies look at swastikas or goose stepping or Roman salutes, or the SS lightning bolts, photos of Hitler, open praises of Hitler, whatever this is, they get disgusted. They want to vomit. They freak out. They run away. And that's really sad because we want to make this country great again. We want to stop all of the degeneracy that the social Marxist globalists are pushing on white people. We want to stop the fact that immigration is designed to eliminate white people. We want to save white people. We want to end degeneracy worldwide. We want to spread Christianity worldwide. We have all of these great things that we want to do, but they're freaking out the normies and making us seem awful to them. So don't start out too strong. When I was at that time, when I saw neo-Nazis or National Socialists, I freaked out. So don't do that. That's not a good way to spread the movement or support right-wing authoritarianism. So what's better is to start out light. Start it with something very reasonable and very not too far away from mainstream thought. Because Milo Yiannopoulos was parroting a lot of neocon talking points, as awful as a lot of them were. And also a big thing, I think a more important thing is, so give compliments often. Like try to seem as kind to the person you're trying to change their mind as possible. Go, oh, that's a really good point, or, you're almost right, but I think you're a little bit wrong in this area. That will make it go a lot better. And also try to make people think they're coming to their own conclusions. So I watched this video, and it was this awful social Marxist globalist propaganda piece where they tried to trick children into believing that that white privilege exists. Obviously, they're doing this to make white people weak, but that was what was going on in the video. And what they did was they lined up these. So there's this YouTube channel called Think Before You Sleep. He did a video doing a rebuttal to that crazy test. So go subscribe to that channel. It's pretty good, actually. But they had like these pieces of paper, and they would tell all these kids, just take a step forward if you if the cops don't like harass your race for being your race. Take a step forward if you don't have all these problems getting a house because your skin is too dark. And it would be like that. And then the kids would be at totally different places, and it'd be like, well, you're here because you're white, so society treats you better, and you're here because you're black and society doesn't like you. Um, but that, even though what they're doing is evil, from a strategical point, it's very well thought out. Um, I've got to give it to the social Marxist globalists that came up with that. Um, it's evil, but it's smart. It's an evil genius. Um, so what this does is it allowed the children to believe that they were coming to their to believe in white privilege by themselves, not because they were being tricked into believing it, but because they were coming to it of their own volition. It's like Joseph Goebbels said, a piece of propaganda fails once people realize it's a piece of propaganda. I'm probably misquoting him there, but I'm paraphrasing. I'm doing my best, people. Um, so I think that's what we should think. So try to get him to think he's changing his mind towards your opinions by himself. He's doing it himself by thinking it out, thinking, "Oh, I just thought of this good idea. Maybe you're right." Because that was sort of with me. Like, I didn't really see it as like Milo Yiannopoulos sitting me down and saying, "You are going to believe this." I thought of it as listening to him, hearing him out, listening to his points, and then deciding through logical thought that he was correct. That's how I saw it. And that's very important. Um, so yeah, that's um, a really great idea. So just try to think of that way. So to this person, say, hey, I heard that because of immigration and birth rates, white people are going to become a minority in the US and in almost all of Europe. Do you think white people becoming minorities in the US and Europe is going to make the lives of white people worse or better? Do you think things are going to get worse or better from that? And they'll go, I wonder if they'll get worse or better. Hmm. Oh my gosh, retard moment. I wonder if they'll get worse or better. Um, so I think that's a great idea. Just try to make them think they're coming to the ideas their own way. Um, or just little things like that. If you can just get them to believe they're coming to their own conclusions rather than having a conclusion shoved down their throat or being hit with a stick, it will go down a lot better. So I guess just think of the boiling frog. If you drop a frog into boiling water, it will jump right out. But if you put a frog into room temperature water and slowly heat it up a little bit at a time until it's boiling, and the frog will lay in the boiling water and let itself get boiled alive because um, because of the way the frog's nervous system works. If you do it a little bit by little, it won't see being in boiling water as a threat. It just won't work that way. So think of it that way. Um, don't uh, don't open up with your most far right, your most extreme, your most authoritarian take. Start out with reasonable. I mean, they're all reason. My takes are all reasonable takes, but I would start out with my more centrist, uh, more moderate right wing takes, or those takes, and then slowly build up. to the truly based and red pilled stuff. All right. I just wanted to share with you how I went from cucked to based and red pilled. Um, I hope that more people can make this great journey, as it's certainly made me a much better person. And I hope to do another stream shortly. I'm going to see if I can get one out tomorrow, though no promises, but I hope to see it tomorrow. Um, Good evening,